His friend's level now is probably a level. Dae-sung listened but didn't understand. So he had to glance over and ask what the hell A and B were. Chan-ho also did not hesitate to inform his friend. Which is the rank of the hunter's ability. If he reaches level B, he can join a large gang or become a member of an association. Wherever I work, my monthly income is only 3 won. But if I reach level A, I will receive better benefits. Sounds interesting. Dae-sung sucked his hand and asked if there was any higher rank than A. There is S level, but currently there are only 5 people. 2 million people, but only that many can awaken to S level. Chan-ho picked up the piece of chicken and laughed. Are you planning to become the 6th person or what? Leave and be human. Wake up from your dreams. No one can save you. In this land of Korea, just getting an A rank is enough to live happily for several generations. Saying too much makes Dae-sung look upset. Chan-ho laughs and doesn't criticize you anymore. Seriously, I always believed you could do it. He lifted Strongbow up to empty the can and wished his brother smooth sailing. But actually Dae-sung didn't need any wishes. He was already a hunter. At the same time, in another building, in a luxurious room, there was someone cutting meat with a knife and fork. And next to it was a file with Dae-sung's information. The long-haired guy said while eating that this is the guy who went crazy at our place. The tough guy who was forgiven by the Han. The lone shark is also here. But he looks quite scared. When I didn't see a reply, the guy angrily pointed the fork straight at his photo. I asked again, is this son of a bitch the one who caused such chaos in our organization? Causing the scared head to quickly answer yes. Sir. With long hair, I use a towel to wipe away my dark lips. You make me think a bit of a bastard. Making my hair scared and sweating. The other guy continued to question why he ran away then and now came here just to say this. His head stiffened and he hesitated. Unable to speak. But when he saw the other guy's hand on his shoulder, he trembled and said it was because he had nowhere else to go. The guy with the long hair and the scar across his face is Lee Soku, the leader of the infamous Crimson Demon Gang. There's nowhere to go but you have the guts to tell me. You little brat. A strong murderous aura surrounds Lee Soku. Why are you shaking like a leaf? Guy? Could it be because of that thug? Lee Soku looked to the right, where the big brother of the nailhead was lying stiffly in a pool of fresh blood. The corpse was missing one arm and had its entire ribs sticking out. The bald-haired grandchild glanced over to see such a scene, and was even more scared. His whole body trembling, staring at the dead big brother. Tears were falling, but no one knew whether the game was over or not. Crying and begging the leader to spare his life. Lee Soku's hand had already moved to its protruding head, suddenly leaning down and coldly whispering into the head's ear. Even if the office is destroyed, the money in the safe will still be safe. But where has all my money gone? Pinhead was completely unaware of anything and begged the leader to leave him a way to live. With an expressionless face he let out a sigh. Lee Soku smiled. Okay. Let's say I believe what you say. His bald face was deformed with fear. He secretly glanced back and stammered. Thank you, boss. Thank you. Lee Soku smiled widely. But less than a second later, the spikehead's head suddenly exploded like fireworks. Blood splattered all over Lee Soku's cold face. The leader just sighed, not paying any attention to the headless corpse that was spewing out blood like water with an open valve. Lee Soku walked to the dining table, organized the files and held them up high. Quickly deal with this kid. Dae-sung's photo was posted on it, and Lee Soku also carefully instructed him to act discreetly and cleanly. This mission was entrusted to a mysterious man dressed in black standing in the corner of a dark room. The next day at the Korean Hunter Association, looking at the simple-looking nameplate, Dae-sung stood calmly in front of the building with his hands in his pockets. Chan-ho got out of the car and carefully instructed him. You have to go find the staff in the lobby. Tell them you're here to test your awakening ability. Then someone will come to guide you step by step. See. Dae-sung had already walked a long way. Chan-ho still called after him to warn him. To speak softly and listen. Not to say no to others. Cheating is strictly prohibited. Does it look like a father taking his child to school? But before he could finish the instructions, Chan-ho yelled at him again. After checking, please tell me the results so I can marry that jerk. And our male lead still continued to move forward. Chan-ho worries about Dae-sung even more than his mother. Looking like this, God knows who takes the exam. He walked confidently without the slightest fear. On the way inside, he encountered all kinds of people. From office workers and ironing clothes to never-die hip-hop kids also came here to test their awakening abilities. When he entered the door, he met a guy who looked exhausted and walked out, probably having just been beaten. Just like what Chan-ho said, this profession is extremely hot because it's extremely swordfishing. But even if it's for money to moonlight, having to meet a bunch of trash like this makes him feel extremely complicated. In testing room number 3, Dae-sung and the other candidates were waiting for a long time. But they were unlucky enough to have to pick number 9 and wait for the tangerine season. This job is so hot. I hope the other 8 guys hurry up so he doesn't have to wait so long. Dae-sung suddenly received a text message from his mother. She thought he was still at Chan-ho's house, so she asked him when he would come home. Today his mother hurts her back, so she took a day off from work. If he's not busy, he'll come home and play with her. Dae-sung still hasn't told his mother about the awakening ability test and has no intention of telling her about this. So he has to pretend that he's at Chan-ho's house and will be home soon. A few seconds later, his mother texted back. This afternoon there was delicious hangover soup and told him to come home and eat. Just listening to it made me crave it, so he had to quickly finish it and go home. A pair of clacking high heels stepped out. Finally, Dae-sung was called in by this short-haired employee to check in. Before he could even enter, he heard a man shouting outside. Damn you, how the hell can you say that I'm not an awakened person? His disruptive actions made the staff extremely uncomfortable. Explaining that the meter did not detect anything, Old Man Jin Sang immediately screamed and wanted to blow away the remaining hair. That meter is a piece of junk. Is your association so unprofessional? The group of people waiting outside began to feel increasingly uncomfortable. After waiting for a long time, they encountered a crazy man who was raping them. Jin Sang inside had tears streaming down his face, pointing to the top of his head, shiny under the electric light. When he woke up early in the morning, his hair suddenly fell out. If this wasn't a sign of an awakened person, then what else could it be? The employee was also speechless. And the woman with short hair and horny contestant outside had a hearty laugh. Are you delusional about your power or something? It's true that it's an awakening. But it's an awakening to baldness. After waiting for a long time, Dae-sung still couldn't enter and felt the heat in his body. His mother was still waiting for dinner at home and Jin Sang was still making a mess and screaming loudly. He was also threatening that if the staff didn't handle things properly, he would file a complaint with the branch head. Suddenly a hand slammed on Jin Sang's bald head, causing him to angrily turn around and curse. What bastard dared to touch his head? But as soon as he turned around, he saw Dae-sung with a strong murderous aura emitting like a demon. A dog with a human tail must have consciousness. What type are you, bald guy? Before seeing that overwhelming feeling, Jin Sang was so scared that he peed his pants. He stammered and couldn't answer. Yes. It must be because the machine had a problem. Dae-sung looked at him coldly. Are you sure? At that time, an awakened employee came over and offered to test it. Then walked towards the huge machine right next to him. Placed his hand on the ball, causing it to emit a few electric sparks. The machine started the checking process and the ball suddenly turned green. This is a sign for a C-level awakened person, meaning that the machine has been operating normally without any errors. Confused and unable to speak, Jin Sang was completely muzzled, taking that opportunity for the short-haired girl to take advantage of the situation and send him off immediately. Jin Sang angrily walked out the door, but Jin Sang still insisted that there was definitely a mistake, making him admire his stubbornness. Finally resolving the mess, the short-haired girl apologized and invited him inside to check. Watching Dae-sung's every strong step, the other sister immediately turned to gossip with her colleagues. But the other brother knocked on her head, asking her to focus on work and worry less about making money. Remembering his terrible aura just now, she was certain that this guy was an awakened person. Then lift the glasses and check the goods from top to bottom. This size must be at least level B or higher. The bright sunlight shone down on the headquarters of the Korean Hunter Association. In the branch office, the sound of phones was ringing loudly. As soon as the man in the suit heard the other end of the line, he shot like a gun. The branch manager. Please go down to inspection room number 3 on the 6th floor immediately. He raised his eyebrows and asked if there was anything hot to say right away. But the other person still insisted that he should come down here and see for himself. When leaving, go to the branch manager and quickly get into the elevator. A crazy thought popped into my head. Could it be that among the people who came to check, there was an S-level awakened person? But he immediately realized that he was being delusional. There was no such thing as an illusion. However, if someone awakens, the reconnaissance team will no doubt have their heads cut off. After thinking for a while, the elevator had stopped on the 6th floor, and the contestants in the hallway were in a commotion. Who is that guy? This is the first time we have seen this case. This exciting scene made the branch manager feel something was wrong and hastily maneuvered through the crowd to enter the inspection room. Immediately, his eyes widened in panic when he saw that the crystal ball had been shattered. And the 2 balls on the testing machine were also broken. What the hell just happened here? Can someone quickly explain it to me and the viewers? There was the sea-level awakened brother rushing out, his pale face glancing right at where Dae-sung was standing, stammering in an explanation that it was caused by the boy present there. Then he began to recount the situation in the examination room a few minutes ago. As soon as he put his hand on it, the phala ball changed color up and down like the 7 colors of the rainbow mixed together. It looks completely different from when the other brother made Dae-sung doubt whether this thing can be used or not. The employee next to him could only laugh shyly and say, sometimes it's a bit technical. So please wait a bit. Suddenly, there was a crisp cracking sound and the surface of the sphere suddenly cracked, causing the employee to panic and not understand what was going on. And Dae-sung began to fear that he would have to pay. Suddenly, there was an explosion and smoke coming out of nowhere, startling the contestants outside the hallway. Smoke rose in the inspection room, causing the short-haired girl to cough even though she had covered her nose. Like a lost soul, Dae-sung stood in a daze in front of the ability testing machine that was continuously belching smoke while the employee was terrified and fell to the ground. Seeing the male lead standing still like a statue, he thought he was too scared to quickly ask. But Dae-sung is not in the mood to answer. I don't know if he will be arrested or not. After hearing the story, the branch manager also gave up. He thought that this happened because the testing machine was faulty. But the 3 crystal balls are all the same. There's no way all 3 could be defective at the same time. Seeing his 2 brothers whispering loudly, he was confused and wondered if they were planning to ask for compensation. I was scared on the inside but still had to appear calm on the outside. What should I do now? Do I need to test again? Now the branch manager must come forward to solve the problem. A series of thoughts running like crazy in his head. If I continue to let him test like that, in case the meter breaks again, I will have to spend my own money to buy a replacement. But if he's a high-ranking provincial, wouldn't it mean I'm missing out on a talented person? Well, let's just say hello first and think about it later. He suddenly turned around and asked if you were Han Dae-sung. Right? Make him ask questions all the time. Clearing his throat a few times, the branch leader continued, this has never happened before. So we decided to make a judgment based on the results of the upcoming hunter test. What's the test? Dae-sung's face went blank again, causing him to explain that he couldn't judge his ability based on the judgment of this mixed ball. So he will be allowed to participate in that test, so that other authorized commissioners can participate in the evaluation and ranking. It sounded so fake that Dae-sung doubted the credibility of that test. But the sea-level brother firmly affirmed that this exam is much more prestigious than that ball. So you can rest assured and participate. He's already said that and it's weird if he doesn't agree. So he's okay. He's scared so he won't play. Dae-sung then left with a somewhat formal goodbye from the crowd. Waiting for him to go further away, the branch manager sighed deeply. Oh my god, I'm so miserable and something happens every day. I'll soon be at a loss. Too familiar with her boss's habit of complaining, the short-haired girl immediately asked something she had been wondering about. Does the crystal ball react to forces coming from another world? Specifically the other world in the body of an awakened person? That's right. But what's going on? The branch manager was quite surprised by this enthusiasm. Wouldn't it be nice if she were normally this excited about work? He pushed down his glasses and lowered his voice to look dangerous. He thought that the otherworldly power inside Han Dae-sung was completely influenced by the crystal ball's determination. So it exploded like that. After hearing the secretary's conspiracy theory, the sea-level guy immediately burst into laughter, but was shot straight by a burning glare, so he had to apologize and let it go. The boss also felt that that hypothesis was too ridiculous. If it was true as she said, then that guy must be of the SSS level like the male protagonist in those fake stories. The sea-level awakened guy happily added fuel to the fire. Little sister, stop watching TikTok. What you just said sounds so absurd. Although the world is truly virtual now, he is just a kid, not a god to be granted SSS. The two were so busy arguing that they didn't notice that the broken crystal ball was emitting a strange red light. Dae-sung was on his way home right now, not forgetting to call Chan-ho to tell him about what happened in the examination room. Chan-ho thought the meter was broken but he coldly said no, making him eagerly ask what was wrong with it. It's so fucking broken, bro. Dae-sung replied calmly, while Chan-ho on the other end of the second shouted something. You broke it, but that machine is not something you can easily break. Chan-ho's terrifying voice almost made Dae-sung's ears puncture. So he had to tell the gist of the story. He did exactly as instructed, placing his hand on the sphere, but it suddenly exploded. Chan was walking on the search tie when he heard Chan-ho constantly babbling, cursing that group of people for doing business like a bull's head. At the same time, he told him that if he wanted to achieve high results, he had to practice carefully to prepare for the test. Dae-sung answered briefly and then suddenly stopped. Chan-ho would immediately send the test and detailed instructions to him after finishing the exam and then turn off the phone with a snap. Cautiously looking at the construction site behind him, he felt someone staring in this direction. Specifically, he was looking closely at the back of his head, causing Dae-sung to turn around in frustration and activate his celestial eyes when he saw that in a corner of the unfinished building, there was a hated bastard using an arrow gun to aim straight into yourself. The assassin observed Dae-sung listening to the phone through the viewfinder. But the more he looked, the more he saw that he had nothing outstanding. Just a slightly taciturn-looking kid. Even if he is a high-level conscious person, he can be killed in just one shot. Having had the correct aim, the gunner was about to pull the trigger. I only blame him for causing trouble to the wrong person. He was just following orders. But suddenly the assassin saw Dae-sung scowling and looking straight at her through the viewfinder. When discovered, the assassin's eyes widened in panic. Wondering if that brat had seen him, she quickly lowered the gun to regain composure. It was probably just an accident. It couldn't have happened like that. Since she's been practicing until now, she's never been discovered by any hunter. If a clumsy guy like that saw her, she'd better quit her job. Angrily, he raised his gun and the assassin had to check to make sure. And to his surprise, Dae-sung not only looked at her but also tapped his head and mumbled the words, "This is a lot of blood." Dog. His pupils widened and he growled angrily. "If you're a good motherfucker, aim straight here and shoot." Damn it. The gunner was completely stunned by what had just happened before his eyes. The other guy not only saw him, but also heard his voice from such a far distance. The barrel of the gun that had never surrendered to anyone trembled, stepped into the minefield, and ran away. "Shoot the motherfucker quickly," Dae-sung screamed in the gunner's head, causing her to jump and almost lose her bud. "Okay, if you like. Your father will be happy." The assassin immediately raised the gun and quickly got into aiming position. With a loud sound the bullet shot out of the barrel of the gun and rushed straight to where he was standing still as if. Dae-sung stared blankly into space. Then an explosion with terrible destructive power rang out. Looking down from above, all we see is a screen of dirt and rocks scattered everywhere with smoke and dust. The clever gunner smiled triumphantly, saying goodbye to you, you son of a bitch who is grumpy with your father. But the joy didn't last long when he looked into the viewfinder again. Dae-sung still stood there proudly without a single piece of skin or hair being chipped while the surrounding rock and soil were crumbling. The motherfucker is a fraud. Because the bullets the sniper used were not normal bullets but extremely rare aura bullets on the black market. Dae-sung frowned and glanced sharply at the assassin, making his nephew tremble. I accidentally bumped into a damn monster and had to quickly get out of here. He quickly dropped his gun and ran to save himself. But the sword shot through the window and stuck straight into his calf. The gunner only had time to gasp. His eyes flashed red blood. And then he fell face down on the floor. While it was groaning in pain, Dae-sung appeared with the aura of a dark demon. The angry assassin turned to look at him indignantly. But Dae-sung taunted him. Which is fine. But a few bullets of yours aren't enough to kill me. You idiot. The sword was gradually disappearing. The gunner quickly pulled out the gun hidden at his side and jumped up to avoid Dae-sung. Grind your teeth and point your gun at him. Why are you still alive after being hit by my aura bullet? Where are you from, a god? Hell. He said one sentence that made the assassin freeze. He had no choice but to tease this idiot even more. So he arrogantly said, Han Dae-sung is the Lord of Hell. But the blonde assassin thought that Dae-sung despised him and spoke ambiguously. He was crazy and considered him a target and wildly fired bullets. Every shot fired was dangerous. Every shot is a death sentence. Die, child. You dare to deceive the lucky lady and leave behind this foolish habit. The loud sound of gunfire shook the entire construction site, firing until there were no more bullets left before it stopped. Ahead was a thin wisp of smoke and the strong smell of gunpowder. But the assassin is wiser now. He still doesn't dare to let down his guard, carefully observing to see if he is completely dead. Wow, you asked me. Dae-sung suddenly appeared right behind the gunner, causing him to pee in his pants. Clearly it had seen him fall. How could that be possible? But that was just the shadow of a group of dark souls taking his place to deceive it. Knowing that I had been tricked was so painful. But what could I do now that I was running out of bullets? Not letting the assassin wait too long, Dae-sung grabbed it by the neck and pressed it hard against the wall, flattening it like a shrimp. While he was in pain from lack of oxygen, suddenly a pair of torched hands appeared right next to his face, scaring him and making him widen his eyes. Looking down, I almost fainted because of the red eyes and the moans from the underworld that continuously rubbed against his hands. Suddenly, a demon with eyes, nose, teeth, and mouth mixed together appeared, causing it to roll its eyes back in horror. Its face drained of blood, screaming, "What the fuck?" and then foaming at the mouth and fainting in the warm arms. Pressure of the demon. Seeing that, Dae-sung was so disappointed. He was already scared and fainted. This guy is so weak. After all the entertainment, he had to go collect the aura bullets that the assassin had just released. He did not expect that people would now use this thing to kill each other. Have times changed that much? Suddenly Dae-sung's eyes fell on the other guy's weapon box, which contained a file containing information and pictures of him and his family. Immediately picked up a bullet and threw it directly at the gunner's head to wake her up. But this method actually worked. She opened her eyes in pain and suddenly screamed in fear when she saw the demon hands still covering her body. But Dae-sung didn't care. He coldly interrogated her. If you dare to talk nonsense, I will kill you immediately. Understand? Throwing the file and photos on the ground, he turned around with another bullet in his hand, angrily asking who ordered you. The assassin did not dare to reveal information about the Crimson Demon Gang. If she didn't die here, she would still be hunted down by those guys. So he randomly said the name Kim Sung-hin and it took him a long time to find out. Who was that guy? He looked up and asked right away. He was the muscular bastard of the loan sharking organization that you just destroyed. The assassin immediately stammered in response. He said you took all the money so he hired me to get your head back. Oh, is that 500 million? Thinking he had taken the bait, the assassin happily prepared to continue dancing to escape. Just let me go and I'll tell you where it is. She spoke eloquently but forgot what she had to say here. Dae-sung's finger flicked sharply, causing the bullet to shoot through the other soldier's shoulder. An earth-shattering scream rang out. You son of a bitch. How dare you go back on your word? After that loud scream, The assassin looked at him indignantly. I told you that bastard. With a sharp intuition, Dae-sung knew she was lying. But an assassin wagged his tail obediently like a dog, showing that something was suspicious. I'm stupid. What should I do? The blonde assassin frantically tried to find a way to deal with it. But Dae-sung is not a patient person. He angrily asked me one last time. Who gave you the order? A series of thoughts rushed in, making her even more panicked. Even if she left here alive, the mission had failed and the psychopath Lee Soku would definitely come and eliminate her. The more I think about it, the more I feel stuck. Any choice will lead to death. If I have to die anyway, why not just end it myself? Suddenly he raised his hand, trying to put all his strength into it, then placed it directly on his heart, roaring in anger. Even if you asked 100 million times, my answer would still be the same. You bastard. Using half an eye, I could see that the assassin wanted to commit suicide. But he still had no reaction except to keep staring at her. Over there, the assassin was still screaming frantically. Go to hell, you disgusting monster. But before he could finish his sentence, a deep hole was suddenly punched in his chest. His eyes were blank and he had an expression of extreme horror. He didn't expect to be killed so carelessly. Shocked and desperate in the last seconds of his life, the assassin painfully coughed and coughed up blood like a person with tuberculosis. Made a shooting motion with his hand. Dae-sung coldly said, May you rest in peace in hell. One after another kept mentioning that damn hell, making him extremely uncomfortable. Those bastards didn't know what to do with the hell he had gone through. Blood soaked the floor. Suddenly the assassin's body fell down and sat in a pool of his own blood and died. Seeing that, Dae-sung was extremely depressed. And in the end, he could not get any information about the mastermind of this assassination attempt from that guy. So now we still have to clean up this mess. It's really disappointing and looks disappointing. Of course, there's only one thing that wants to handle it without leaving any traces. But Dae-sung doesn't want to use it at all because that item always causes him to lose his appetite without stopping. Frustrated, he summoned the diary with the key word being the memories of the dead. Moments later, he found page 134. Everything could be solved quickly and easily with this thing. As soon as he summoned the temple, a space gate immediately opened in front of him. But most of the surrounding area was very close to the crack of the heaven gate. Dae-sung decided that before leaving, he had to find something to cover the body, lest anyone discover it. It would be troublesome. At the large construction site, in a closed corner, a blue canvas stood out with a hand lying in a pool of blood sticking out. So is it hidden yet unknown? Dae-sung had walked through the gate straight into the temple. As soon as he appeared, the monsters there immediately sent a message, vehemently welcoming the return of the absolute being. At the same time, the system also sent a question asking which moment in the Hell Diary he wanted to recreate. On page 134 of the notes about the prison that holds souls, he responded immediately. The soul prison is the main weapon of the Demon King, one of the 15 lords who govern hell along with the demons. It is an artifact that can summon the dead, by binding them with their own blood. Those artifacts were created by the prehistoric people to be easily distinguished from objects available in nature. Remembering the first time he set foot in the soul prison, he thought he could fight easily. But the commander summoned by Dae-sung was so weak that he couldn't control it properly. Looking back, he only felt stupid and humiliated. The system sent a notification reenacting day 198 of the 67th year at the temple. Interrupting Dae-sung's thoughts. This place is not the same as hell. It is a place to dispose of corpses on Earth. This time he has to use it smartly. Then click to activate it again right away. Proceeding to recreate the location of the zombies river recorded on page 134. The space around him began to bend and twist. The dangerous Rocky Mountains loomed alongside the zombie river with a heavy aura rising. Below was purple water filled with floating skulls. On the other side of this river is the Demon King's territory. In the past, he crossed it by boat. But now there's not even a plank, let alone any boats here. Not to mention the fact that he can't swim across. Because all he needs to do is put his foot in the water. The zombies below will immediately rush to bite the intruder to death and become a part of the river like them. At that moment, the system board appeared immediately announcing a mission to create a new item with medium difficulty. He needed to destroy the creatures from heaven that were occupying this river, with the goal of 20 white pillars within 30 minutes. Completing the mission will receive the reward of the protection of the demon soul. The implementation rate of the soul prison reaches 50%. The announcement just ended. Dae-sung is in the sights of an unknown creature. Then a series of bright eyes lit up in the darkness. They surrounded the sky, stalking Dae-sung's every move, feeling that he was being closely watched. He looked up and discovered a whole group of strange creatures that looked like robot spiders hanging right there. They are white pillars of a race of independent mechanical creatures. Free combat weapons created by creatures from heaven. At that time, the robot's program to eliminate intruders was activated, and they jumped to the ground to prepare to attack. A spider jumped up to spit out a purple ball, but he easily dodged it, so it crashed straight into a rock behind him, immediately corroding the other rock into a stump. Make Dae-sung understand the problem. As long as he defeats these guys, the system will give him a ship. So why bother fighting? Quickly summoning his sword just as a giant robot spider was falling, he pushed his feet and grabbed a rock and rushed straight towards the monster to take the initiative. The blade slammed into the spider's body. His eyes glowed red with murderous intent. He slashed along a line as quickly as he could and then gently landed on the ground. The spider's body was split in half and blood spurted out, causing him to fall far away from that place. Suddenly, a series of purple bombs rained down from above, causing him to drown in the acid solution. But that was still not enough to make it difficult for Dae-sung. Dae-sung thinks there's no point in avoiding those stupid bombs. How can these childish games make things difficult for him? Still standing tall and refusing to surrender while the purple bombs were coming closer and closer. A red aura emitted around him like a large torch. A protective barrier was erected around him. The bombs falling from the right were immediately neutralized from the left, also suffering the same fate. Removing his shield when the rain of bombs passed and still clutching the short sword in his hand, he stood there quietly reviewing the situation. With the current situation, dealing with each one by one was almost impossible because of the swarm of insects. There are so many spiders there, even frogs. Moreover, according to his judgment, they did not intend to attack directly but only attacked at long range. In that case, he would make them all fall down with a single blow. Thinking that Dae-sung would hit them straight, the short knife hit the ground with a terrible force. The vibrations spread around, causing rocks and soil to shoot up. The towering rock dunes where the spiders were clinging to also immediately stuck together and made cracking sounds as if they were cracking. Some of them lost their balance and fell first. Then the whole group of spiders fell on their butts. Just waiting for that, Dae-sung immediately rushed forward like an arrow ready to skewer each child one by one. Wherever the short sword passed, it cut off the core of the spiders. The blade of the sword was as sweet as rock sugar. Now he seemed to have turned into a guillotine that could not stop. His bloody hands dyed the whole sky red. Dae-sung caught the core of the last spider with just his bare hands and crushed it into pieces. Fighting so strongly, the system continuously jumps to notify that the mission has been completed. The current execution rate, the soul prison has reached 50%. The reward has been given to the Almighty. The system panel gradually disappeared before his eyes and was replaced by something spherical. Then it burned into a large column of fire. Then gradually narrowed and a yellow object and the core of the spiders appeared. That is the devil's armor called protection, made from white pillars, which reduces physical damage and is immune to all zombie auras. Dae-sung mumbled and read it carefully again when the system asked if he wanted to wear it too. Another thing to note is that after 2 wears he can wear it however he wants. Startled, looking at the river of zombies, he wondered if he could use this thing to swim across. There was no other way but to take the risk. The river was still flowing fast, and he was continuously diving in the middle of the water. He placed his yellow feet heavily on the shore. Then his whole body appeared covered in newly purchased armor without any missing skin. The system immediately updated the temple's evil eye stone, which admired his swimming ability as much as the shining stone. At the same time, they also felt sorry for not being able to help. I was so tired and had to listen to 3 craps that he yelled at the system to stop talking. Walking forward, a blinding light appeared. He just walked in and disappeared into it. Dae-sung entered the Demon King's territory. But all around was a pile of ruins. There are absolutely no ghosts here. Even the Demon King's ancient citadel has disappeared. Dae-sung just thought that. The system jumped out and sent a message that the demons were extremely sorry for that disappearance, which made him angry. Suddenly he realized that this is not the way to perform tasks in the ancient citadel. Dae-sung was about to go check around when suddenly the ground shook violently. He coldly looked around a few times. But he still didn't understand what the hell was going on. Suddenly, with a loud bang, a huge explosion with extremely powerful force occurred right in front of him. A wall shot straight up from the ground as fast as lightning. It kept shooting up with no signs of stopping. Dae-sung also had to try to withstand that intense shaking. Finally, the earthquake ended, and a towering skyscraper appeared through the smoke and dust. That is the Pen Tower from heaven. An architectural work designed by creatures residing in the sky. It is made from magic stone and has the role of imprisoning wandering souls in the 9 clouds. From above, a bright halo appeared, clearly illuminating the majesty of that great tower. A large gate was also open to the howling wind, which looked extremely scary. Just by looking at it, ordinary people would know not to rush into places like that. But the male lead was different. He looked expressionless, thinking that going in there might trigger the next mission. And that's right. The Item 2 quest is underway according to diary page 134 at the Demon King's Soul Prison. This mission has a high level of difficulty. You have to destroy the creatures in heaven created by the Pen Tower with the goal of winning 1,000 of them. He has 2 hours to complete. If he succeeds, he will receive a reward of opening the Jun Ancient Language and an additional 5.000 achievement points. Concretized. The Soul Prison reached 100%. Suddenly a heavy foot pulled up along the chain with deformed flesh and slammed on the ground. A warrior in old, rusty armor held a spear in his hand that appeared before his eyes. Quite surprised by the sudden presence of the stranger, Dae-sung stared in that direction and felt that this appearance was a bit familiar. Hidden under that hood is a devil's face with blood-red eyes and sharp teeth. There was no doubt that he recognized that creature as the soldier commander. As long as it was of the demon type, it would definitely not have any hostility towards him. But suddenly, from nowhere, thousands of crazy men screamed and rushed towards him, holding spears and sticks. Immediately Dae-sung tensed his ass muscles, roared loudly to make heaven and earth surrender. His fiery murderous aura burst out, showing his terrible overwhelming power, making him appear with the stature of a man, god of supreme authority. Seeing that, the army commander stopped immediately and everyone stood still without moving. The temple's monsters sent him a message apologizing for the soldiers' rebellion. But less than a second later, the commander's curses rang out again, and they continued to rush wildly towards him. However, Dae-sung did not flinch at that situation and immediately took an offensive stance. The attack was as fast as cutting off the heads of countless people, making him suddenly realize that these people did not seem to be equipped with cores like the spiders. Dae-sung immediately beheaded one nearby to check and see that it was true. He thought to himself that the reason why the demons went crazy was because of that white pillar. The army of military commanders became more and more numerous. As one person was cut down, another took his place and rushed forward without faltering before his strength. Determined to finish off this group of traitors, he continuously activated blood demonization. A source of yellow energy mixed with existing anger makes him more majestic than ever. With this technique, it can transform him into a half-human, half-ghost form. When activated, it will consume a certain amount of health every hour. Attack power in all states and skills increases by 300%. His eyes suddenly sparkled with blood and at the same time burned with a blackening fire. Dae-sung must completely plow through this place. With a murderous look in his eyes, he kicked his feet and pushed himself forward like a bolt of lightning. Wherever he ran, he slashed the demons, making them unable to react in the face of such a sudden attack. The cuts are so precise and fast that they cannot be seen with the naked eye. Blood demonization has buffed his speed almost to the point of being absolutely unstoppable. Throwing a powerful punch at the demons, they all flew away and died like straw. The number of enemies he had destroyed had now reached 50/10,000 and then immediately increased to 130/10,000. Now he had reached that strange tower, only seeing a few demons standing at the gates. It is true that this thing must be destroyed from the inside for it to be effective. But suddenly the commander of the soldiers emerged from the white pillar like ants with a distorted face. Dae-sung without hesitation jumped into the middle of the demons, cutting them into hundreds of pieces. Then he used all his strength to attack the white pillar from the base to the top. Hundreds of blows were launched as fast as a storm. A loud explosion rang out as the towering tower was now collapsing and breaking into pieces. The white pillar was destroyed, causing the army commanders to gradually disappear into the mist and dust. One by one they disappeared without leaving a trace, strongly walking on the cracked ground. Half of his armor had now turned pitch black. But that change made him even cooler than he was before. The collection of imprisoned souls has been 100% completed. Dae-sung completed this mission and received the reward for opening the ancient dun and 5,000 merit points. Suddenly, two large purple and orange balls appeared glowing in the middle of the smoke. Looking at them for a while, he realized that one was a materialized item and the other was a reward item. But he was not in a hurry to get it right away and wanted to check other items first. Dae-sung said so once. The purple ball emitted a thin smoke and flew straight forward. The reward information immediately appeared. Its name was a prison that held souls classified in a work of art. This is the only treasure that only the Demon King has. It can suck the souls of the dead, then mix with the owner's blood and turn them into military commanders. The first special skill is imprisonment. Once a subject is deemed dead, their soul is imprisoned within the artifact. And resurrection is the second skill. He can revive the souls of the dead and use them as infantry. The third skill of sharing memories is also quite interesting, being able to observe some of the memories of the 4 infantrymen in his possession. With the current number of imprisoned souls being 0/20, his original purpose was to collect zombies and secure information. But only 20 zombies were too few. But maybe that's the reason he received this extra reward. Dae-sung said again, causing the orange ball to spontaneously burst into flames as if it was about to crack. The system appeared asking if he wanted to engrave and unlock the ancient Dun language in prison. He continued,